Hey everyone, Brien from Three Geeky Dads here. Before we begin tonight's episode, I just want everyone to know that we are now sponsored by Audible. As an IT professional for a school department, I find myself behind the wheel of my car traveling between schools almost all day long, and that's where Audible comes in. Right now, I'm enjoying listening to Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, read by Stephen Fry. It's so enjoyable to hear this hilarious audiobook read by a proper British comic actor. And that's just scratching the surface. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word content, with everything from bestsellers, celebrity memoirs, and news to podcasts. Yes, if you're into podcasts, and you're listening to us right now, so we can assume you do, Audible has got you covered. Just go to www.audibletrial.com/3GD to get your free 30-day trial today. That's www.audibletrial.com/3GD to get your free 30-day trial. You'll get 1 credit, 2 credits if you're already an Amazon Prime member. That's good for any premium selection titles you like, and they're yours to keep. You also get the Audible Plus catalog of podcasts, audiobooks, guided wellness, and Audible originals. Listen all you want. No credits needed. Again, that's www.audibletrial.com/3GD. $14.95 a month after your 30-day trial. Cancel at any time. Audible. Stay informed, connected, and inspired. And now, on with the show.
This is your 2-minute warning. This ship will self-destruct in exactly 2 minutes.
Launch all escape pods as soon as they are filled!
Hey, you're not permitted in there. It's restricted. You'll be deactivated shortly.
Hey, I assume you tried to gain control of the escape pod in Dock 14.
Yes, I tried to gain control. There's an escape pod in Dock 14?
Hey, that's my escape pod! Who are you? I'm the bearded lady. But are you one of the freaks?
According to this, there's a single occupant escape pod called the Deus Ex Machina.
Escape pod was jettisoned during the fighting. No life forms were aboard.
She must have hidden the plans in the escape pod.
Hey, look! There's a prize inside that box of ham dingers. An escape pod.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
All right, everybody, welcome to another Escape Pod. This is Marc Macrina from Three Geeky Dads, and joining me, the man who always loves to talk horror with me, Dean Kaluzdian. How are you, Dean?
Good. Hi, everybody.
I haven't seen you for like, what, an hour?
I know.
We've been seeing a lot of each other. Are you all right still?
Yep, I'm doing good.
Good,
doing
okay.
Good.
I'm better in small doses, man. Welcome back. Excited to do this Escape Pod with you because we are going to be talking about Christmas horror, and because it is Christmas, we have a little present for you. We got a third party joining us for this one, and also from Three Geeky Dads, and the wonderful man who helps keep this Escape Pod going and editing it and making it sound awesome, Brien Ramsey, everybody.
Hey,
Hello,
happy holidays.
Welcome, Brien.
Welcome, Brien. How are you?
Doing good. I'm doing good.
So the reason Brien is joining us is because he, too, is a fan of the subject we are talking about tonight, which is Christmas horror. Like, just Christmas horror movies in general. We were going to do a double feature, but there are just way too many to choose from. We're both, all 3 of us, are super fans of Christmas horror movies. So I think what we're going to do is we're gonna go over some of our favorites, and then Dean was nice enough to compile a list of movies that we're going to recommend, and we're going to do all this under the span of an hour because that's how great we are.
That's our present to you.
That is our present to you. We're keeping
brevity.
it short.
We're giving you the gift of brevity.
So, Dean, you and I have both books out there that are a nod for our love for Christmas. I've got The Dark Saint Returns, or rather Kringle, The Dark Saint Returns, and you have The Stalking Dead. Now, this venue is far more appropriate to talk about The Stalking Dead, and I want to mention it because before I really got to know you, I knew this book. It was recommended to me from by Josh Hurst and Jay and everybody at Rubber Chicken, and you were doing werewolf art for issue 1 of Werewolf with a Chainsaw, and it was like, you got to check out The Stalking Dead, which I did. And this is before I knew you, so no bullshit, I really fell in love with this book, and it has become a timely tradition ever since. Zombie elves. You still don't see too many zombie elf movies, but there are maybe 1 or 2 out there. There's one that we're going to talk about, I know. But I don't know. It did. You. This was 9 years ago. You did this book.
Yeah, 9
right?
years. 9 years. And a little.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't a lot of like zombie anything in the North Pole happening, or nothing I can remember. What was it that inspired you to write The Stalking Dead?
Oh, so this. Well, you may not know this, but I built, and I did it for 2 years, and I built a giant Christmas display. I rented a mall store, an empty mall store, and built an enormous walkthrough for people to look at, like animated and still Christmas elves in the North Pole. And it started off in like a little town. I actually recreated my grandfather's records shop from when my mom was a kid.
That's awesome.
And built this whole like Christmas village, like Enchanted Village, if you've ever been to it, at that point had gone away before Jordan's had taken it back over. And so I was like, I want to do something like that, but even more Rankin Bass, like,
Right,
you know,
right.
and, you know, the general complaint after I had come out of the haunted house business was that my elves were a little too creepy. And so I felt like I had kind of failed. And also nobody wants to go into a Christmas display. And so I was a little heartbroken at the reception that I was like, you know, people would like it if they just walked through. It was only like $3 to get in. And it was like my Christmas gift to the world that nobody wanted. And Stalking Dead actually came out of that. Like it was kind of my, like, I'm going to do something at home, you know, to kind of like meld my love of Christmas stuff and haunted houses, and also after having gone through this terrible ordeal of building a Christmas village that nobody wanted to go to.
No kidding.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of came into doing The Stalking Dead. And I also love Rankin Bass and bad jokes, and, you know, tried to work in every pun and Christmas special. There's even and Sharp Eyes will find it. There's even a nod to The Prisoner in it. I threw in as much obscure stuff as I could.
That's the best part when you're doing a story and you can throw in Easter eggs and shout outs. But it is like a haunted house. I mean, you have a host. You have a Burl Ives sort of host that kind of takes you along.
Yeah, I really did try and work in all the other stuff in it. And I will also say I enjoyed your Dark Saint Returns.
Well, thank you.
And was happy to write the foreword to it.
That's
too.
right, you
And
did. Yeah, you were kind enough to dress it up and say, if I liked it, then you'll like it.
Yeah, so check out both our books, but we did want to keep this brief, so we want to talk about the movies and not ourselves.
Well, you know, we could talk about ourselves
Did I tell you about my
bit.
childhood? All right, so.
No, you've got to read The Stalking Dead, because you're going to have a better understanding of kind of an understanding about how Dean feels about Christmas.
Yeah, and you'll we're going to talk about this right now, is what makes a good, and I really thought about this when I was writing the book, what makes a good Christmas horror story to you? We'll ask our guest
That's
first.
right.
Brian, what makes a good Christmas horror story to you? What is the things
I
that
like
you're
something
looking for?
that kind of turns the holiday traditions on its ear. You know, I like, before the movie Krampus, I really wasn't aware. Sorry, that's the ice machine
That's
going.
okay.
Getting into the festive spirit, making it cold in here.
It's Krampus. He's making a drink.
So before the movie Krampus came out, I wasn't really aware of the whole Krampus mythology and lore. But since then, I've loved it. People don't associate Christmas with horror. It's usually Halloween or you know, it's not a holiday that people would associate these kind of tropes to mesh with, and I think it works.
Yeah,
I think it works really well.
You have a man coming down your chimney,
Exactly,
and you know, and leaving toys in the middle of the night.
If you're good,
yeah. Even just that, if it was a real person, you'd be creeped out. Like if just any stranger just kind of showed up in your house at midnight, you know, even if they're dropping off toys, it still would be creepy.
Oh yeah. But we all bought into it.
Yeah,
we did. And this is somebody that's watching you year round, or so. Or so your parents tell you, and you're constantly. You know, when you were a little kid, if you did anything bad, you broke into a sweat.
Yeah, you're on Santa's naughty list.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget, the most famous ghost story of all is A Christmas Carol.
Right,
So
exactly.
there is And it has its own horrifying moments.
Right, and
Marc,
there are some tales that are darker than others. Yes.
yeah. What's your take?
I've always found Christmas to be this very weird holiday. Even as a kid, I love Christmas, but I think the reason I loved it was because of all the creepy stuff that was involved. There is something creepy about somebody coming down your chimney and leaving you gifts, and if they didn't, if you weren't good, they left you cold, or coal rather.
Coal, yeah.
And I don't know. The holiday is really bizarre. It's a bizarre time of year. Everybody acts differently, sometimes in a positive, jolly way, but there's also a lot of negativity. And you have, that's another thing. You have to pretend to be nice. You've got to, there are gatherings and not everybody gets along. It seems to be this strange time where everybody is like on guard for some reason. I don't know. It was always, and now, especially nowadays, it can be so stressful. And people don't speak about it now the way I think they once did. Or maybe it's because I'm an adult now. When I was a kid, Christmas was Santa Claus and presents and, going to church at midnight, with my family and everything. Now, when I hear about Christmas, I just hear about stress. It's all about stress, and there's news reports on anxiety of Christmas, how to deal with Christmas, like it's some sort of a disease. And
so, how does that affect your Christmas horror watching? What do you end up finding you want to see in a Christmas horror movie?
I think it's the same reason I watch horror in general. When I watch a Christmas horror film, I can say, well, this Christmas might be rough, but odds are it's not as bad as somebody who's dealing with Krampus right now.
That's right.
Or zombie elves, or a demented Santa Claus, or a slasher in a Santa Claus suit.
It's always fun, even in a regular horror movie, to see, the bad character get his comeuppance, but even more so at Christmas time.
Yes.
Because this is the time when we were just saying that these people are supposed to be nice and good, but there's always that one character that goes against the grain, and no matter what, will not, fill his heart with Christmas cheer.
Right,
and he gets it in the end, and a lot of times really, really bloodily too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so taking the Christmas Carol ghosts to the contemporary horror level.
And all the Christmas horror stuff kind of reminds us, to cherish our lives and the people around us. They do it in often sick and, disgusting ways. But it's just an extreme version of A Christmas Carol. It's sending the same kind of message, be thankful for who you are and what you have. And because there are those who are going through some rough times right now, and these Christmas horror films are just kind of an extension of that.
So for me, what I'm looking for in a Christmas horror story is I like to have the magic. I agree with both of you guys that at Christmas we're kind of told to believe in magic.
That's right.
And that's so. And with that, if you say like there's good magic, that means there's probably also the bad stuff too.
Right.
That all magic and all fantasy, the door is open.
Right.
So therefore, so in a horror movie, in a Christmas horror movie, my favorites have that end of it. So we'll jump right into Krampus.
Okay.
Because we all agree that is one of our favorites. And originally we talked about doing the episode on Krampus, and I said, well, we try and lean into more obscure stuff, and we'll keep this kind of brief.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the Three Geeky Dads, that's more your cup of tea to spend a whole episode talking about that, because it does fall in where we end up talking more about obscure stuff. So we'll take a moment to just wax poetically about how much we love Krampus.
It's an awesome anthology, and we're all anthology fans. We've talked about it on Three Geeky Dads. Dean, we've talked about it before.
Krampus isn't an anthology.
I'm not an anthology.
I'm thinking
of Trick or Treat and
Yes.
Christmas Horror Story is
Yes.
an anthology.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Trick or Treat and Krampus.
That's how
directed by
good
the same
Krampus
director.
is. I get it
Exactly.
confused with another movie. No, but it is done by Michael Dougherty, who did do Trick or Treat. And it is not an anthology movie, but it is a fun Christmas film that, for me, goes heavy on the creeps and the scares, but doesn't really go into the super gore. This is something I think older kids can handle.
Yeah.
My 9-year-old can handle it, no problem.
Yeah, I introduced this movie to Quinn when she was like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's really not that bad. There's very little profanity. There's little to no nudity or sex or sexual situations. And the gore is minimum, too. So, I mean, I don't know why it was rated R. It could have very easily have been a heavy PG-13, but...
Yeah, I mean, they're lucky to get the R. Yeah. Because the R kind of...
And my it's one of my daughter's favorite horror movies now.
The creativity of it. Yeah. Like I think that is... It hits all the notes that I want to hear in a Christmas horror movie. Like, it has the monster.
Yep.
It has all the Christmas tropes. It has, the gingerbread men, essentially got the Island of Misfit Toys gone nuts.
Yeah.
And it's got
that thing in the attic, that Jack in the Box.
Oh, that's very
snake.
Now that reminded me of Tim Burton too, Nightmare Before Christmas.
And it also reminded me of
opening up the present, and the snake thing is like devouring the tree.
It also reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street with the Freddy Krueger.
The Freddy head from Part 3. Yes, true.
Yeah,
true.
and fighting off the gingerbread men.
Yep.
And essentially, the movie itself is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, like on its head.
Yeah,
like, it is.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
Yeah,
everybody shows up in one house. And
this is an awful family. It's not a great family
with kind of the trashy relatives coming.
It's like every visitor is a cousin Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is. So it really has like a lot of the same things that we find in the non-horror Christmas specials. Like it has all the stuff, even the opening with the musical number, like, or the Christmas music. And that's another thing I want to add in. Like, what makes Christmas horror movies work is when they use enough Christmas music.
Yes.
Because you're taking something that you normally think of as like light and fun and showing like how dark and creepy some of these carols can be.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. And Christmas carols in general, that's another thing that, I love, but again, there are some creepy ones out there.
Oh yeah, you've got that, to save our souls from Satan's power. The down on your knees.
Carol of the Bells is frightening too.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful song, but if you play that against the right setting, it can be downright terrifying.
And play it backwards, it's even worse.
What is it, Paul is the Dead Man?
Cranberry sauce.
I really dig the look of Krampus. This is it's more than a goat.
Yeah.
It is a bizarro Santa Claus.
It is.
In design.
Yeah, with the tongue hanging out of his head,
beautifully.
like Gene Simmons.
Yep. I like Mike Dougherty's movies. Michael Dougherty. I like Mike Dougherty, too. We know a Mike Dougherty.
That's right.
Michael Dougherty.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Another
Mike
great
Dougherty,
artist, friend of ours.
an awesome artist, yes. Michael Dougherty, who we don't know, but whose movies we love, makes some damn
Still
good
a friend
ones.
of the show.
And he is. He may not know it, but he is. And I hope he makes some more.
I hope so, too.
I haven't seen anything from him lately.
I know.
And I'm hoping we get some more.
Yeah, that movie really benefits from its practical effects and the puppetry work.
Yeah, it's true.
When I saw it in the theater, I was just gobsmacked at how good everything looked. And Krampus himself. I mean, Krampus is a puppet that doesn't even really have any expression.
No,
it's like a solid.
The mask does not have any articulation at all.
But it doesn't look like a mask. You forget that it's a mask. It looks like some hideous creature that's like frozen with this expression.
Exactly.
Like he's cursed.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful.
It's an awesome design.
He's one of those kids from One Crazy Summer that grew up.
Yes. They made
those faces and somebody clapped them on the back. I told you your face would stay that way.
That's what happens.
I just saw a video about the making of the Krampus creature. I'm going to keep this really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's a guy in a suit on stilts. And basically the camera is one of the moles on his face by the side of his nose that he can see through. And he's in there with like a tiny little video monitor that he's using to see through. It was incredible.
That's great. I
should have posted
Jim
it on
Henson
our
stuff right
It
there.
really is. It really is. And I'm kicking myself for not posting it on our Facebook page because it was a cool little like maybe 3-minute video about the making of the Krampus puppet.
And that's what, again, I'm not going to harp on it. We talk about this way too much, practical versus CGI.
It wins out all the time.
I like both. I think you need both, but I think you need practical more because I think you just, when it's done right.
CGI is good as an enhancer for
well,
practical effects.
You do. It's a tool. It's a tool that you can use, but I don't think it shouldn't be the only tool. I mean, this puppet you just talked about and what you just told us is interesting as opposed to, well, how is this done? Well, I clicked a few buttons. Or,
exactly.
I clicked, however they
it's all polygons. It's all polygons.
All right, let's jump backwards.
Yep.
And I'm going to skip my other favorite till the end. Because
Okay.
I think we're going to all agree on this one.
All right.
So let's jump back to Black Christmas.
Okay. Which one?
All right, let's go back to the first one.
Bob Clark.
Okay.
1974. Bob Clark, who anybody who's probably taken the time to listen to us already knows that Bob Clark directed A Christmas Story
yes.
also.
And Porky's.
And Porky's, too.
Yeah.
My drama teacher's daughter was starred in Porky's.
No kidding.
Really?
Yeah, she was
man.
the one girl that was in all three.
Oh, the one that worked at the drive-through there.
I don't remember what she actually did, but
All
she
right.
was like the main.
She's the only one I
kind
can
of-
remember
only-
being in a few of them. She had dark hair.
Yeah. So Black Christmas is amazing. Like it is. It deserves to have been remade.
Yeah.
It was. Margot Kidder is absolutely fantastic. She is,
And that's a sentence you don't hear very often.
Margot Kidder is
but she is so good in this. Like,
Yeah.
she is funny. Like when she gets killed, I was just like, oh, that's all we get of
Yeah, Margot.
That's it?
Kidder.
I don't know, Margot.
This one is a great film. Olivia Hussey, I'm a huge fan of.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Juliet.
I love Juliet.
Yeah.
And young Mrs. Bates in Psycho 4 at the beginning.
I totally forgot that.
That's right. This is the woman who made Mrs. Bates super hot.
No wonder Norman had issues.
It's like, I can kind of see that. All right, but your mom's Olivia Hussey. Well, then, no, that's gross. But it's true. She was an attractive Miss Bates. Anyway, as people have pointed out, Black Christmas often gets overlooked in terms of establishing some of the slasher tropes. They usually go to John Carpenter's Halloween, but Black Christmas did it beforehand.
Black Christmas predates. I actually had to look that up.
Yeah,
Like 3 or 4 years, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, like, by it not really being a slasher movie, like, makes it an amazing slasher movie. It's almost like a reinvention of the slasher movie before the slasher movie
without
starts.
intending to do so.
Right.
Really. And I kind of think Halloween was that same way, too. We talk about Halloween all the time.
Right.
But
And the thing that makes Black Christmas so amazing is you don't really ever see the killer.
yeah.
Like, it is.
No, it's true.
The POV shots.
Yeah.
And nor do they really explain the killer, which the remake, the good remake, actually gives it a backstory.
Yeah.
And works it. Those phone calls are effing creepy.
Yeah, they are.
They are super creepy.
Did we cover this?
We did.
And I don't remember.
We covered it about 3 or 4 years ago.
Right, and I don't think we, I don't think we were that big on it though. If I'm recalling,
I think we were divided.
Were we divided? I
we
gotta
were
go back
divided.
and listen.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: I forget.
Or did we do the two of them? Did we contrast and compare?
We might have done. This is a 5-year show. We're going. This is 5
know,
years,
right?
so I don't know. We'll have to go back and listen. But here's the thing: I forget it, so I'm gonna have to go back and give it another
watched,
watch.
2.5 versions today.
Yeah.
And I also never picked up Andrea Martin.
I love that fact that Andrea Martin's in this movie. From SCTV and
I forgot that she was from SCTV. I know her from more recently. She plays the girlfriend of Steve Martin on.
she does
on Only Murders in the Building.
She's also in the show Evil. That was on CBS and
yes,
is now on
yes,
Paramount Plus.
see that.
She plays a nun.
Yes.
And she also had a kind of follow-up to 30 Rock. The next comedy from the people who did 30 Rock was a news show about her playing kind of an overbearing mother of a news reporter too.
Okay.
And watching these two, I didn't realize that she was in both. Like, because I saw that she was in watched her in the remake first, and then went back and was like, wait a minute. That's her as a young woman.
That's
like,
right.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And she has the worst perm.
She does. Yes. She really does.
That's
Which
funny.
was all the rage back then.
So this is funny because according to an interview I saw with Olivia Hussey, Black Christmas is one of Steve Martin's favorite movies. So
no kidding.
Circle on that.
Back.
Yeah.
And John Saxon is the cop in it. And
The incredible John Saxon.
John Saxon is like your go-to cop.
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
for
he was
the-
a cop in Nightmare on Elm Street. He was Heather's dad. Nancy's dad.
I forgot that his profession was a cop.
A sheriff, and From Dusk Till Dawn, it was a cameo.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It was a cameo shot,
I think
but
he's a cop in Blood Beach.
Yes.
Yeah, Blood Beach.
I think
Oh, wow.
so, yeah.
I get Blood Beach and Blood Tide.
Yeah.
The titles mixed up.
Well, I
occasionally.
mean, you go with what works.
And so it really worked. It has Christmas music throughout it, and lots of really, especially the ending that kind of draws out a little bit. You've got the children's choir singing,
Yeah.
and it really, really works.
And also the way it's filmed. I mean, and you know, the old ones are great because they just knew how to make them creepy. And we'll get into that with some of our other choices. The old film, be it Black Christmas or When a Stranger Calls, that old 70s
and this
feel.
also predates the call is coming from inside the house.
Yes,
That's
it
right.
does.
Yeah.
I was watching it tonight, and I had to look up which one came first.
Because you're waiting for that to come through in this movie, but it doesn't.
Because he actually says in this one, he doesn't say the call is coming from inside the house. He says the call is inside the house. Like
Okay.
it
It's
is
close.
like it's really close.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, they literally 4 years earlier used almost the same exact line.
And all these guys that went on to direct these movies credit Black Christmas, or I Saw Black Christmas. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really good. So how about the remake, the 2006?
The 2006 one, like I said, I don't remember it. I can't give much about it right now. If memory serves, I might have thought it was just okay, and I think I need to revisit it.
I don't think I've seen the 2006 version, but I've seen the one, the newer, the more recent version.
So the 2006 one, I actually think ages better than when you first saw it.
Okay.
Like it is
All right.
4 movies of the early 2000s or mid 2000s, I should say. It has more gore. It has some wonderful, there's a lot of eyeballs a popping in this. There's a lot. And a lot of the gore ties into Christmas. There a lot of the mutilations happen Christmassy. They use a lot of Christmas objects. And the cast is fantastic. And even the people who were kind of unknowns at the time have become more known. Katie Cassidy's the lead, who went on to be on Arrow. The two kind of that were on TV at the time that this was their big movie was Michelle Trachtenberg.
Oh, yeah.
And
she was on Buffy.
Yep.
Oh,
and
right.
Lacey Chabert.
Yep.
From Party of Five.
Right. And
And one season of Family Guy.
Yeah, that's true.
One
yeah.
or two seasons of Family Guy.
Yeah,
something
she was
like
the original Meg.
Yep.
I'm forgetting. I think there's someone else that I'm leaving out too. It does have the woman from Only Murders in the Building. And there is someone else, but it has a lot of good gore in it. And they flesh out almost too much, and you kind of I enjoyed it watching it before the other one. I think it just kind of shows, and the progression of all these 3 remakes kind of show we're taking the audience a little stupider and stupider each time.
Yeah.
They need everything
They dumb it down a little bit more.
completely explained to you. And then when you get to the third one, which I have to admit, I originally started watching it and said, this is not for me. And then was like, okay, I can do it for this, and got another half hour into it and was like, oh my God, in a genre of annoying teenagers and young adults, these were really annoying.
These
were pushing the envelope
this
big
movie,
time.
Yeah, this one is. I do not like the third attempt at it at all. I think it's.
It plays
terrible.
like an after school special.
Well, it is an after school special, and I won't get way into it, but it's one thing to do a movie about how awful men can be and how awful the patriarch can be. And it certainly can be. But it's another thing to spend the whole movie just on that and not provide any entertainment, or at least make the protagonists the least bit likable so you're on board with it.
Yeah,
which is hard. You know what I'm saying?
I'm all for a feminist horror movie.
Sure.
Like you know, you can.
Well, we've seen them done right.
Done well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When you're watching it with the idea that like you can see the writer writing it while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And this one doing it as a remake of a Christmas horror movie, like it's almost irrelevant to the subject. It's almost like they had the script already and we're like, all right, we're going to throw Black Christmas onto it. It doesn't work in this subject matter.
Yeah, they kind of stapled the title
and it also is just poorly written.
It is.
Like it is written very, like I said, you can see the writer writing it as they're writing it, and it is kind of like an after-school special.
You know, it's really funny because you talk about, I mean, I've seen plenty of horror documentaries, and they've talked to a lot of like feminist filmmakers, and they've gotten their inspiration from the old slasher films, where according to them, and I agree with them 100%, the women were always the heroes, always the strong ones, and the men were always the morons. In the majority of slasher films, that is often the case. You know, with a few exceptions here and there. But these are the movies that these filmmakers that are making films now that kind of put those kind of politics in there and do it well. They're taking from what they learned from those old slasher films, which were making these kind of ideals, and I don't think, if they were, I don't think they were so, I don't want to say forced. That sounds too, but I don't think they were so intended and heavy-handed.
Yeah. Like I said, if you can see the writing, you know, metaphor and subtlety go a long way, and it really does. You know, and this one just it didn't understand the thing about a horror movie is and. I will apply this to the idea that originally you were going to have Schwarzenegger as the main protagonist in I Am Legend.
Right.
And I kept saying, like, no, you can't have the idea of an equal. And I have the same issue with the new Halloween movies.
Yeah.
That where you're putting Jamie Lee Curtis on the same level as Michael Myers, that it's an action movie when your protagonist is on an equal level with the killer.
So I'm kind of with you on that. I don't want to.
I will
do this, but I mean, I can buy Laurie Strode doing it because of the history and the history she's had with the character off and on
and
screen.
She's had all that time to prepare.
I'm okay with it. Like Michael Myers is a little less threatening when you do bring somebody equal into it, and I get that, but. I can forgive that. Not forgive. I
will just say
more.
That's why I enjoyed it less. But if you tag it as an action movie, I have less. It just doesn't.
Right.
And as you guys know, I'm a giant Alien fan. Whereas I consider Alien a horror movie, Aliens an action movie.
Yes.
It is.
So it's kind of that same because they're bringing more firepower.
But going back to I Am Legend really quick, the idea of bringing an equal into it is a bad idea because the whole reason I love that book and fall in love with the character of Neville there is because he's not an action hero. He's a doctor. He's the last person equipped to deal with a horde or a violent mob of any kind, and now he's faced off against the world, and the whole book is him adjusting to that and growing as that. And I think that's what you need. I think that's what you need in any character. You bring in any kind of character in any film, and they're perfect right off the bat.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of
where do they have to go?
And that is another one of the problems with Black
Right.
Christmas to bring it back around.
Yes.
Now I've derailed us, so I'm going to bring us back to horror movies that make us feel completely uncomfortable.
Yes.
And don't always work.
Yep.
You know, I do like to say horror should challenge and make you feel uncomfortable. I can't say these movies are on my list of favorites. So let's talk about the Killer Santa Claus movies.
Okay.
Which is a fun idea because he does sneak into your house at night.
That's true.
But of the classics, I personally don't feel that many of these work, or they work in the like I'm so uncomfortable, and I feel gross watching these,
right?
But not in the same way that I enjoy Krampus or even Black Christmas.
No, it's just taking somebody that you loved as a kid and turning it into a slasher.
But in these, I don't want to overwhelm you guys. So as you actually said, like, these make me feel gross, like that.
There are a couple of them that I even have a hard time with. Christmas Evil is a film that I don't think it's a good movie, and I do. I think it's a good movie on the in the fact that it will give you a reaction. You will feel incredibly uncomfortable watching many scenes in this movie, but at the same time, it is kind of it's a movie that just does not age well in this day and age, and unfortunately, it's slow. The kills are too far in between, too few and far in between, and the opening to that film, I just think it's hard to watch. It's a hard watch even for me. And normally I don't have problems with any kind of slasher.
Yeah, you don't shy away from a lot.
I don't, but this one,
it is. I think the thing about
creepy.
Christmas Evil Santa movies is the idea of I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus is how most evil serial killing Santas are created.
Absolutely.
Like, because we'll jump into Silent Night, Deadly Night too.
Deadly Night
Isn't that also
that's the one I'm familiar with. I've never seen Christmas Evil before.
So Christmas Evil is a guy who, when he was a little kid, he snuck down. His brother loved Santa. Oh no, his brother loved Santa.
His brother was very much into Santa Claus,
and he snuck downstairs, and Santa had come down the chimney, which I'm still not understanding how.
So what they
dad,
did was they kind of did the Gremlins story, but pulled it off.
Oh, okay.
The father comes down and comes down the chimney, and the mom and the two boys are off in the corner, and they're watching Santa come down the chimney, and he's dropping the presents, and there's this enchanting music, and Santa turns and gives him a wink, and manages somehow, which I don't think is ever explained logically, to go back up the chimney. So the kids go to bed. They're all happy. And for whatever reason, the kid has to get up and go back downstairs. And when he goes back downstairs, he sees Santa Claus kissing mommy, and not on the lips. Or it's suggested that it's getting to that.
They actually don't show any... There's not really any real nudity in it, but there's a lot of suggestive.
The cinematography is good enough. Like I said, I mean, to provoke a reaction, it's done very well. It's hard for me to completely hate this.
He grows up to work at a toy factory,
right,
where they just make plastic toys, like and he gets upset when people don't make their toys well enough. And there's a lot of he becomes part of management, and he gets mad that he's not making toys anymore.
Yes. And he's also spying on all the neighborhood kids. And making his own list of naughty. He wants to become Santa Claus and wants to do what Santa Claus does, but in kind of a Dexter way.
Yes, and
he's really going to punish
the
naughty.
Very, him. There is at no point does he do anything inappropriate with kids.
No,
but he's so creepy that him watching the kids is too uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it is. There is not much, and you're right. It is slow. The kills are he does get revenge on some of the people he works with, and it's not very exciting.
The problem is what's going to happen 15 minutes in, and you're waiting for it to happen, and they're still taking the time to create kind of a build-up, which is all sort of extra and unnecessary by this point.
Yeah, and
because what's going to happen.
And there is long, pensive moments. It is slow filmmaking. I disagree with the idea that is more artistic for it. It's just slow. So I'll give that. How about Silent Night, Deadly Night?
Silent Night, Deadly Night, I loved. I saw it at the right time, though. I mean, if I've
Did you see
gone
it young
back
too?
and I saw it young.
Yeah, me too.
But this was what fascinated me about all horror was the VHS cover. This was Santa Claus's arm coming out of the chimney with an axe.
Yes.
See, I think the first time I saw it, I was much older, and Brien and I are older than you, so I don't know about you, Brien. I don't know if you remember as a kid the big deal of this.
There was a lot of controversy about this movie. Yes.
So I saw. I mean, I wasn't. younger, but I saw a lot of footage and a lot of parent groups and a lot of just a lot of protesting.
Yeah, that I
for this
do.
film.
And that made me fascinated by it as a kid.
Yeah.
And I think my
yeah.
disappointment was that it wasn't really Santa.
That's true.
And it is weird in where it fits in with other slasher movies that the hero is actually a young, good-looking guy. Like it's not even like a creepy Santa.
Yeah.
It is a young, handsome man who has his own issues. One fun thing about it is watching it and seeing the toys in the background on the shelves are all like period toys. And that's it.
Yeah.
You know.
So you watch it now, it's like, I had that.
Yeah.
I wanted that.
Those protests and parent groups and whatnot gave it strength and an idea of horror that I don't really think was there. You watch it is far more. Even back then, when I finally saw it, I was like, I was expecting to be kind of more creeped out and disgusted when I saw Christmas Evil.
Why we remember that more than Christmas Evil. I mean, they made that a classic instead of a movie that...
And Christmas Evil came out first.
Yep.
Obviously, it wasn't well known, well received. It was forgotten. And Silent Night, Deadly Night is the one that kind of set the tone for future evil Santas.
And now... let's talk about one that I'm sure that Brian and I loving the old English movies, but Amicus, Tales from the Crypt, the movie.
Oh, this is great. You're talking about Joan Collins and the Santa attack. My friend Carrie and I, we actually prefer this one to the remake that they did
for the
television show with Mary Ellen Trainor.
Maybe
the mom from Goonies and
Larry Drake,
right?
From Darkman and
which
Dr.
is great.
Giggles and
L.A. Law,
yeah. But when it comes to in terms of scary, this one is taken a little more seriously, and this one is frightening. This is very well done.
It is, and it's. It falls into the category of the siege movie or the home invasion horror, and it's a real scary. And then
it's the Christmas Purge.
It's been around for long enough to talk about the ending of it, where the little girl lets in Santa, which I think comes straight out of the EC Comics.
Yeah. Absolutely, it does.
I am a Hammer fan, and I am also a giant Amicus fan, so that is. I have to put that down there as one of my faves. Let's quickly cover two of our favorite foreign horror Christmas movies.
Okay.
You can tell us about yours.
I'm going with so one of my favorite foreign Christmas horror films is Dial Code Santa Claus, or as it's known in the States, Deadly Games, which, as I texted Dean, I'm not a fan of that particular title. It sounds like a Steven Seagal movie. Dial Code Santa Claus, I think, is a much better title. This movie is fantastic. I would recommend it to so many people, but I know a lot of my friends with the subtitles, it's hard to get through. It's a French film. It is fantastic. It is horror. It is action. It's take Home Alone, Silent Deadly Night, a little bit of Christmas Evil, maybe, but more Home
Alone.
More Home Alone.
It is like the Home Alone horror movie.
The story follows a rich kid who lives with a single mom and his grandfather. Now, they are super rich, but they're nice people. The mother works very hard. She has to work on Christmas Eve. She's a successful head of the toy company, multitude of stores and everything. She's looking to throw kind of a last-minute party because her kid is questioning Santa Claus. Now, her kid is a genius, super smart, crazy mullet, awesome mullet, is good with computers, is good with building traps, and
he's got hockey hair.
And he has this amazing castle for a house where he has all these secret rooms. He is the ultimate adventure kid. This is the kid, maybe not the hockey hair, but this is the kid that you wanted to be. And he's starting to question Santa. So the mom is talking about keeping this magic alive, you know, because he's such a special kid to her. And so she's worried this is kind of taking effect on not only the kids in her stores, but this might have an effect on business. So she decides to throw a last minute party and hire extra help with Santa Clauses. And one of the people that take the job is this disturbed individual. I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head, but he is awesome. He gets the job as Santa Claus. He loves Christmas. He's almost like a child himself, but can snap like that. He gets the job. He puts on the Santa suit. He's loving, talking to the kids until one girl gets on his lap and pulls down the beard, and that sets him off, and he attacks the girl, and the mother fires him right away. The guy's able to track the mother's, house down and the kid, and goes after the kid as Santa, and it becomes this cat and mouse game between the kid trying to save his grandfather who's almost blind. He's diabetic. He has to defend his house and save his grandfather while his mom tries to make it home. He's cut off from everything, but he knows the ins and outs of that castle and everything he's set, all the monitors he set up. It is a fantastic movie. I'm kind of throwing everything at you with this, but it's probably
which came first, Home Alone or this? This
I believe. I would reckon. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody saw this from Home Alone and let's just do this, but take out all the scary stuff. I don't know. The kid is great. The guy who plays Santa, he's the scariest.
Chris Columbus might have discovered it. All right. So on mine,
yours. Wait, let me say really quick. Right. Scariest Santa slasher, whatever you want. He's not really. Well, no, he is a slasher. He kills a couple of people and he kills a dog. That's a slasher. Scariest Santa.
I hate when they kill
of all time. I'm gonna go out there and say it. He's the scariest Santa of all time. And the way the movie's shot, the film, try to get past the subtitles and definitely check this movie out. You will not be disappointed.
All right, so mine is a Finnish movie, which you probably have seen, Rare Exports. It's been a while since I've seen it. So, Brian, if you can remember more about it.
Well, it's been a while since I've seen it, too. I know that it was directed by the same director who just did the wonderful Sisu this past year.
Really?
Yes,
that's a fantastic movie.
It is a fantastic movie. One of our favorites from early 2023.
I think it was my favorite. Was it 2023?
Yeah, it was earlier this year.
Really?
It was just earlier this year.
2022.
I saw that at the cinema pub.
Then it's probably the best movie I've seen in 2023.
So the basic premise is they dig up
it's a mining operation.
Yeah, and they dig up a frozen Santa Claus, essentially, or whatever
they uncover the tomb of Santa.
Oh, this is such a great idea.
And so you end up having kind of the elves come out and protect.
They're not the friendly elves.
No, it's fantastic. And there's also a French TV series called Elves that has a similar like trespassing on the wrong land. I had thought it was a movie and was like, I'll watch it tonight, and realized it's a series, so I couldn't rewatch that in time. But Rare Exports is definitely a must watch. It's really enjoyable.
I agree. I love that movie.
Can I bring one up now that we're on the subject of foreign Christmas horror movies?
Can I just say very quickly?
Go right ahead.
Very quickly. Dial Code Santa Claus came out a couple of years before Home Alone.
Okay.
Awesome.
Continue.
No. So last night I was watching something on Amazon Prime, and I'm just going through the menu looking for something else. And under it's a newer movie. Under the stuff new to rent or buy, I discovered something called There's Something in the Barn, which I almost bought. And I'm like, no, I'll wait. I'm not sure about this one. But I watched the trailer, and the trailer looked really good. So this is a Norwegian movie, but it stars Martin Starr, who's an American actor.
Yeah.
And it's about a bunch of Americans. They inherit an old cabin in Norway from a deceased family member. So the American family moves there with the intentions of turning it and the adjoining barn into a B&B, but they end up disturbing a vengeful barn elf who will go to deadly lengths to drive the family away. So the Norwegian cop is saying, like, they're saying, we think there's something in the barn. And they're like, well, we have a thing up here about, and I'm using my bad Norwegian accent. about the barn elf, and the barn elf doesn't like, it doesn't like change, and it doesn't like bright lights, and it doesn't like loud noises. So it's Christmas time. So they're putting up decorations, and they're totally renovating the barn because they want to turn it into a B&B, and they're disturbing this entity that's in the barn, and weird shit starts to happen. And I think I'm going to rent it now tonight, and we'll maybe watch it later.
Sounds good. Sounds really good.
Yeah. I really liked it, and it looked really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so let's jump back to another one that you have purchased. And you can tell us one of your favorites. I watched this last night. And I'll hand it over to you.
Are we talking to Christmas Horror Story?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I discovered this movie about 5 years ago or so, maybe not even that long ago. Totally by chance, and I think it was because of the art that, the thumbnail that I had seen on Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got Santa fighting Krampus, which I just discovered Krampus, the movie, and my love for everything Krampus now. So I'm like, I've got to check this out, not knowing it was an anthology, which I love. So it had like two things going for it right off the bat. And then it had William Shatner in it, which I took a star off. But no.
He's great in this.
He is the glue that holds this whole movie
awesome.
together. And I don't think I've loved him in anything other than Star Trek more than I do in this movie.
I won't say it's as good as Trick or Treat, but it has the same feel as Trick or Treat.
It really does.
Stories
because it's an anthology, but the anthology stories like interconnect and they're not told linearly.
Yeah.
Like every story breaks up to go to the other story and breaks up to go to the other story. And then they all tie in like in a perfect little Christmas bow at the end. And there's a great little twist with Stormin' Norman, the weather guy.
Oh, the twist is
I love it.
We promised we weren't going to talk about it.
And that's as far as I'm going.
Yeah.
But it does make it. Like it does that kind of cleverness to the movie. And
it's pretty close to Trick or Treat.
It really is. And you really have to pay attention to what William Shatner is saying when he's doing his radio show, because he plays a DJ on Christmas Eve. He's doing a long shift, and he's talking about this and that, and you learn that a family member had died like the year before, and he keeps saying like, what is it about Bailey Downs at Christmas? What is it about
Bailey Downs?
Yeah, that's the name of the town.
Yeah,
which
I know.
Here's another thing: Bailey Downs is the same town from Ginger Snaps, because this movie was made and produced by the same people
guy, right?
that did Ginger
Yep,
Snaps. It's a Canadian movie. Yeah.
You can, if Joe Bob
so
fans,
it's one big Canadian Christmas horror universe.
It is. Joe Bob did this last year on his show, and he has all types of awesome facts about the cast because it's a great cast.
He did Christmas Horror Story on his show
last year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to watch it, man. That's one that's
new,
through the cracks.
Well, this is making my geek flag, but since we're not going to be talking about it anytime soon, his new Christmas double features dropping this weekend.
That's right, it is. I did see that. Yeah, awesome.
Oh, yeah. No, I love this movie. Definitely.
It is, I think,
check it out.
Not all the stories are created equally when it comes to Christmas.
But that's
like
the
it
same
does,
that goes with any anthology too. You've got not that there's a really bad one, but some are always going to be stronger than others.
Right. And there's a couple that I just don't think have enough of the Christmassy spirit.
I think the one with the kids breaking into the school
that's
is the weakest one.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And
That is the weakest one. The kid with the kid who goes into the woods and comes back different.
I like that one. I like that one a lot.
See, the thing is, I'm a giant fan of changeling stories.
Yes.
And there are many of them. So.
And the thing that ties that into the other story is that his father is the cop that investigated the original murder in the school that the kids are investigating. Because they show him looking over the files on Christmas Eve just before he gets killed by his
See it again.
Totally.
This is one you got to watch again.
Yeah.
This is one you can watch.
Yeah, it really there's a lot of subtle little details that you really got to pay attention to that really ties it all in.
And the ending is phenomenal. We recommended it to Mike and Steve over at Two Geeks and a Microphone.
They just did their episode.
Did you hear it? They just did the episode on it.
Yeah, I think they both enjoyed it.
Now, we'll tie everything up together in a nice little bow.
Let's do it.
Like we just said. My favorite Christmas horror movie of all time is such a great Christmas horror movie that I have stopped thinking of it as a horror movie at all.
And just a Christmas
movie. And even Marc was over my house the other night and saw that I even have a display for Christmas instead of a manger.
That's awesome.
Is Gremlins.
Yep.
Oh, nice pick.
And it is thoroughly. I always give my wife a hard time because she loves White Christmas, and I keep saying, well, White Christmas barely has any Christmas in it. And so for anyone who argues that Gremlins might not be a Christmas movie, Gremlins has way more Christmas in it than White Christmas.
Absolutely.
And Like
Or
I said,
It's a Wonderful Life. Well, It's a Wonderful Life. The Christmas doesn't even come in until
This
the
is-
last.
this is
the
true.
last
my
half
argument.
of the final third
Whenever
of the movie.
anybody brings up Die Hard not being a Christmas movie, I'm
Yes.
all like, well, then neither is A Wonderful Life, because there's like 15 minutes of Christmas in that
Yeah.
film.
right. And
Yeah.
really, only what makes It's a Wonderful Life such a Christmas movie is the fact that it was royalty free at a time
Yeah.
and played all night. Another
Yeah.
one that did that too, which is also kind of a weird, creepy movie. And now I've forgotten about the name of it. And Angel on My Shoulder.
Oh,
I've
I
never
don't
seen
know
that.
if
Angel
I've
on
ever
My
seen
Shoulder
that.
was also one that played late at night
Uh-huh.
before stations when we actually watched network television.
Right.
And it's
Angel-
about a
who-
mobster who gets killed and goes to hell and then comes back.
Cagney?
I think Cagney's in it, but not the main guy. There
Okay.
is
I
there
gotta-
is
I
one
gotta
of the
see this. Why haven't
famous.
I heard
Yeah.
There is an actor.
You're talking about it, and now I'm starting
yeah,
to...
it is.
I've
one
never
of the
seen
famous,
it, but I'm aware of
if
it.
it's not Cagney, it's someone
Yeah.
like Cagney.
Yeah.
I think I caught the end of this movie actually recently on Turner Classic Movies. Keep talking.
But it has some weird hell moments in it, kind of like the Scrooge musical.
I
has
love
its-
that. I know Mark's not a fan of that one, but that's the one I grew
Which
up with.
one?
The Albert Finney Scrooge movie,
Oh,
the
yeah,
musical.
I
know
don't
you
know
don't
why.
like it.
That's
maybe I
one of
gotta
the
give it
few that
another.
it's
You don't
one of
like
the
it
few
either?
musicals that I love.
Oh,
Like,
see, I love it too.
Maybe I gotta give it
That's the
another
one I grew
shot.
up with,
I don't
and-
know. You know how sometimes you just
So
not
here's
in
the
mood to
thing.
see the movie?
I watched it. I watched the Scrooge, not to get too much off of this, but I watched the Scrooge one, and then I watched the one with George C. Scott the other night, which I had never seen before. And that one felt so lifeless to me because I'm just like so used to Albert Finney's energy.
Yeah, and we do
in that
have
movie.
that like still in package. And,
really-
I think I got it for Jen a while ago. And we always just watch the Albert Finney one
Yeah.
and then the Muppets one.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
a good one too.
Oh, nothing tops the Muppets.
Yeah,
on
no,
that.
exactly.
Let me
no,
toss it in there. You're are you thinking of Paul Muni for Angel on My Shoulder? There's Paul Muni, Claude Rains.
Oh,
Ann
Claude
Baxter.
Rains is the
Archie
big
May.
actor that I was thinking
awesome.
Okay, all right.
Awesome.
Claude Rains, I believe, plays kind of a very Cagney-ish character in it. Yeah, so Gremlins is definitely like my favorite of the Christmas movies because it has everything. It's
That's
got
an awesome
the
choice.
monsters, the music, and everything that and the magic. Too.
And the scary Santa story with
And
Santa
Scary
caught in the
Santa
chimney.
story.
Yeah,
That's right, Phoebe Cates. And that was
And
the year I
Phoebe
discovered
Cates.
there was no Santa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just unnerving.
It is, but it's also kind of funny. The
It
first
is
time I
kind of
heard it,
funny.
I was like,
And then
really?
in
That's,
part
that's
two,
the,
it-
part two,
that's the
they
takeaway.
do it
That's
so
the
well.
takeaway.
They- part-
Not the fact that your dad died, it's just that there was no Santa.
What's the holiday she can't take it?
Lincoln's birthday.
Lincoln's birthday.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was sitting
Yeah.
on a bench, and there was a man who looked like Abraham. Honey, we gotta go.
Yeah. Oh,
I
it's
love
so
that movie.
good.
I love Gremlins. I absolutely love Gremlins, but I love Gremlins too.
So there's a whole bunch of Christmas horror movies that
Yes.
we've left off of our list.
Right.
There's a lot of newer ones. A Better Watch Out is one.
Yep. Better Watch Out is a good
yeah.
one. If you go the action route, you got Fat Man, you got
Violent
Oh,
Night.
yeah.
Violent
Can't
Night.
even get into the
Yeah,
action.
no.
There's great action.
Sticking
ones.
Sticking
But
to horror, you got the mean one that just came out.
That's right. That's
which-
right. And
I
it's
still
a
haven't
Wonderful
watched
Knife.
that. It's a
Which
Wonderful Knife.
when I talk to Derek, we're going to probably disagree because I actually really liked the Bean one. I thought it was pretty good. We'll get to that though.
So there's we'll
yeah.
have to save some for next year.
We'll have to do this
Exactly.
next year.
Yeah.
at Christmas.
So, because
All right.
there's so many, and I hope we didn't rush through too many of them. And for fans of the latest Black Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
I apologize that I personally don't like it. It just is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, all the rest of these, and also fans of Christmas Evil too.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I did an illustration for a friend's article on Christmas Evil and Silent Night, Deadly Night. That was my introduction to Christmas Evil and Silent Night.
So I'm still gonna recommend Christmas Evil because again, this movie does provoke a reaction, and other people might get something out of it. Now, I mean, there are horror fans out there. I'm pretty hardcore, but there are horror fans that are more hardcore than I am, and maybe you'll get something out of it. So I'll pretty much recommend almost everything we've talked about, except the latest Black Christmas movie.
And thank you, Brian, for joining us.
Yes,
this
Brian,
time.
Because I
thank
wasn't
you.
going to be a part of
It's
this.
it's not a
thank you.
Christmas special without a special guest.
Dean, thank you for spearheading this episode. It's good, always good talking horror with you and doing these escape pods. Don't forget to pick up The Stalking Dead. It's online. You can
I
order
already
it
own it.
online. Well, I know you own it. I own it too.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
need it signed. don't forget those who are listening who are not in this room.
Yes.
Go online, or better yet,
At
go to
dreamswithindreams.com.
Or you can. I think you can still get it at StalkingDead.com.
Oh, it had its own URL. All right.
Rubber Chicken Comics in Bellingham.
Bellingham has it.
That's where you go to pick it up.
Or
And,
Amazon.com. Although I have to admit, it cost me more for every one they sell on Amazon.
That's right. Now go to Rubber Chicken.
So go
Really?
to Rubber
Support
Chicken.
those guys. I don't care where you're from.
Yeah,
Go to Bellingham.
It's Christmas. Buy
Take
local.
a trip. Right, exactly. All right, so for Three Geeky Dads, I am Mark.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Dean.
That's our Christmas escape pod.
Happy holidays, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy
to you
holidays.
guys. Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to all you guys.
That's
and
right.
we will see you on our next escape pod in the new year.